Hey everyone! For the very first time since the existence of this YouTube channel, I'm starting a personal sketchbook. I'm going to be pushing myself to doodle and sketch every single day in here, or at least, a few times a week, and I'm going to give you guys ideas on how to start your very first pages and get inspired and motivated to create. So if you've been meaning to start one of these guys but haven't gotten around to it yet, I challenge you guys to do this with me. I do upload a brand new video here every single week, usually 2 of them, and I do lots of artsy, crafty, DIY type stuff. So if you're interested and you never want to miss out on a new upload, please join the family by clicking the red subscribe button below. Also, be sure to click that bell to turn notifications on. I am a bell. Now let's get into some simple steps I have for starting your sketchbook. So you open your sketchbook. It's a magical thing, but then what? If you're wondering this, I have some ideas to help you get your mind in gear. Number 1, draw something you've drawn before, a subject you feel comfortable with, something that you don't really have to put much thought into, a thing that you can just jump right into off the top of your head. It can be something abstract, it can be something realistic that you've drawn a million times before. So on this page, I'm doing something very familiar to my channel. I'm doing a Zentangle, which is basically a doodle that'll help you to relax and unwind, one that doesn't make you really think about your next step too much. You can just put in a bunch of lines, dots, squiggles, and outlines like I'm doing here. I usually throw in mandala elements and flowers, whatever comes to mind. And for this one, it's kind of turning ruffly or almost lacy, which I think looks really cool. You can use whatever you want: Jelly Roll pens, colored pencils, crayons, watercolor paint, but I chose to use a Tombow brush marker. It's actually a dual tip marker, so there's a brush end and a detailing end, and I did go back and forth between those to get different line variations and more detail in the smaller areas. And I'm trying to get a good balance of black and white by making some areas a lot more filled in than others. And then at the bottom, I didn't want to continue a very intricate pattern, so I ended up making these dangles, and these kind of look like necklaces actually. I'm putting dots on them and flowers. I filled in some of the areas at the bottom a solid black. This gives the image a really high contrast between the black and the white areas. And then on that bottom right hand side, I just finished it off with kind of a leafy shape, a flower, and that's it. And then on the next page of the sketchbook, you may recognize these lips from my drawing with makeup video I did in the past. I did another version of these lips because they are familiar to me. They're something that I've done before. So the style of this is a lot different, but it's the same concept. 2, when you get a new sketchbook, I highly recommend that you test all of the supplies that you're going to be regularly using, because the paper thickness in sketchbooks and journals can vary greatly. Some of them will have really thick paper that's high quality, and others might have more thin paper like copy paper. You could just scribble these in, but I decided to do some outlining with a micron pen, and I'm doing some rainbows with clouds and hearts, just really generic things, shooting stars. But this is just a cuter way for me to test the different markers and colored pencils and watercolors that I want to kind of see, if they bleed through the page, if they ghost through the page, which is where you can kind of see them but they don't actually go through, okay. Stop saying but actually, if you do like this video, oh my gosh. But seriously, if you do, I would appreciate the thumbs up while we're on the topic. Getting back to this, I did label each shape with the brand of marker or colorful item that I used. So the rainbow, the first one, was Recollections. This heart is Prismacolor colored pencils. And then I am doing this shooting star down here, which you're probably not even looking at because my cat has popped on the screen. This is Leo, by the way, if you guys haven't met him yet. He was sunning by my window and decided, that he wanted to spend some time with me. So for this one, I'm using Crayola Super Tips markers, and I did say at the beginning of this video I'd give you a couple tips for, staying motivated. Part of that is don't burn yourself out and draw for too long. Don't sit down at your desk for 10 hours in a row unless you have some crazy school assignment due the next day and you procrastinated. But really, while you're drawing, listen to some music, a podcast, YouTube videos, just kind of have them on in the background. Those are all things that I really enjoy doing. Be sure to have a water bottle and some snacks by you. And if you have a cat or a dog or another really cute critter living with you, take some time to play with them and, you know, step away for a minute. Here I'm using a very inexpensive watercolor palette because I was just kind of curious how it would work in the sketchbook. It's a little bit more chalky than a couple of the other palettes I have, but it does work well and it has more colors than the other palettes. So I wanted to, you know, test them out, especially that really pretty neon pink. So on the next page, you can see that the Sharpies bled through completely, and also at the top, that heart there is Copic markers, which also bleed through this paper. But I am really happy with this paper quality in my sketchbook. It's not extra thick, but it is kind of along the lines of a cardstock thickness, so most any other supply I use is not going to show through. I decided though, since those markers did bleed through, I'm going to test my acrylic paints here and just do a gradient from this really pretty fuchsia-y purple to a turquoise-y blue and try to blend them in the middle. Be sure to stay tuned to the end of the video because I am going to be coming back to this after the next 2 tips that I have for you to finish this page. Here I actually took a lunch break, and when I came back the paint was dry, so we're going to move on to tip number 3, which is to look at references. This is one of the most important ones that you could possibly do. And I decided that I'm going to sketch a really funny pug. I love pugs, Doug the pug, all the pugs. For this I am using a regular pencil first and just putting very light lines down, not pressing too hard. I'm following the steps in my drawing book, which is actually from Five Below. It was $3 and it actually has some really great tips in it. So if they still have this, I would recommend that you get it. So here's my completed Pugly sketch. We can call him Pugsley. So unoriginal, but it will. And then I am going in with a Prismacolor colored pencil, and I'm lightly putting color in for his fur and then doing darker outlines with another tone of brown and even a darker pencil to do his ears, around his nose, and any other dark detail like the tip of his tail, his eyes. And then I moved into really pretty turquoise, my favorite color, for his collar, and a golden yellow for the little medal, his tag on the collar. Pugsley says woof. And remember, you don't have to make every single page and image in your sketchbook a giant production and something that is completely refined. Quicker sketches like these are perfect if you're having a really busy day but still want to get in those 15 to 30 minutes of drawing, sketching, doodling. This is the way to go. As long as you're putting a pencil to paper, you are improving your skills, trust me. Speaking of skills, wow, this turned into the perfect transition. This video is sponsored by Skillshare. So if you're not familiar, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of classes in design, business, photography, fine arts, crafts, and tons more. All these high quality classes can help you improve your skills, or you can learn something brand new, including this easy watercolor tutorial by Yasmina Creates. Look how cute these are. There's watermelon slices and desserts, sweets and treats. I happen to have a special promo link in the description box of this video. Premium membership will give you unlimited access to all the classes offered on the platform. So go ahead and check that out below, because the first 500 people to use it will get 2 months free to try Skillshare risk-free. So on the next page of my sketchbook, I'm actually doing a watercolor piece. I chose the watermelon slice. So for this, you probably noticed that I wet my page first. I made a triangle, and then I'm dabbing a couple different shades of pink onto that and letting it spread out, but I'm also putting more water and more paint in areas that I think don't have enough. Once that was complete, I added a little bit more water for the rind area, and I'm putting a few different shades of green here. If you think that some areas have a little bit too much saturation or you want a different effect, go ahead and take a dry paper towel to lift some of that paint up. And also I'm going to use a blow dryer, as Yasmina suggests, to dry the paint more quickly so I can get on to the next layer. In her tutorial, she recommends to build up the color, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going in with a darker red, and I'm layering some of the same pinks as well, just to make areas darker and make it appear more marbled. I think it looks so cool. You don't have to do a second layer, but I like the effect. Again, use a blow dryer if you want to help speed up the drying process here so you can move on to adding the seeds. And here I'm going to try mixed media, as number 4 says. So instead of putting in those seeds with watercolor paint, I am using a black fine liner pen, and I'm also going in after that with a white jelly roll, aka gel pen. Here I just highlighted some of the seeds. I added some plain white seeds and then just a couple lines on the rind to make it flow better and bring a little bit more unity to the piece. And then I used a Crayola Super Tips marker to write this cute little quote, and it's finished. Finally, as promised, I am going back to this acrylic paint page that looks pretty plain at this point, but I'm going to do more mixed media for you all with stickers. These are really cute cacti. I use that black fine liner to outline them, and then I'm using a Prismacolor colored pencil to make these green triangles and a white zigzaggy line. After that, I doodled a really pretty butterfly, and let me tell you, drawing on top of acrylic paint with colored pencils is so satisfying. Just try it if you haven't yet. The color just goes on in a way that I can't describe, and it just feels so nice. I did blend the color on the butterfly's wings a little, and then magically 2 more appeared. And I put stars in the sky, and I don't know, the whole thing might be a sky. It's just a really cool abstract piece, and I didn't think that I would end up liking it, but I really did. So I highly recommend that you try something like this in your sketchbook to get your creativity flowing. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you thought it was helpful and you want to see more art videos here on my channel. I do upload here every single week, so remember to subscribe if you have not yet and turn bell notifications on. A huge thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, and thank you to all of you who have watched. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you soon in my next video, I hope. Bye! My cat is at the door meowing. Leo, I'm busy! Leo, I'm busy!